my new phone.
Oh, I think that's probably a smart idea. I spend a ridiculous amount of time on Facebook. Like, ridiculous.
Well, I think when you've got limited time, you have to be quite selective over time, especially as a business owner.
Yeah. Okay.
Tip 1.
Tip 1. I think everyone missed it, but we'll come back to it. Thanks everyone for tuning in to Power Hour. I'm super excited today to have Justin Drennan, who is, well, he's many things, but I guess I'll introduce him as the CEO and co-founder of Parcelninja. And today we're in the beautiful Workshop 17 down at V&A Waterfront. Not in the hotel room that I initially went to.
Awkward.
It's a little more professional than that. So thank you, Justin.
Pleasure. There we go.
Maybe to start with, you can just give people a bit of a background about yourself and what brought you here?
Here being Cape Town or here being business?
Here being life.
Life. I guess both actually. So just to give you some background, I'm actually originally from Port Elizabeth. Where I studied IT together with a bunch of friends, and post that I ended up moving to Johannesburg, where I did IT work for one of the banks. I was a software engineer, after which I went to TransUnion RTC, the credit bureau, where I did work in the short-term insurance space, and post that I had a short stint at RMB Bank and spent a bit of time at a company called Osiris, which is an online sort of gaming business that specializes in sports betting.
Okay.
And through that process and working there, ended up working with my brother, another one of the co-founders of the business, together with our other friend Terence Murphy, who's the third co-founder of the business. And so the three of us used to work together in the sort of online sports betting space, together with another bunch of friends. And while we were working there, we were always sort of avid gamers.
Yeah.
So we used to play computer games.
Can't imagine that.
Can't imagine it, no. No, can't imagine. Anyways, and through that process, we actually wanted to get some products from the US that weren't available in South Africa, because as a gamer, you want the best price on the best machine, and there was much cheaper pricing in the US at the time. And so, being a, let's call it entrepreneur, I guess an entrepreneur solves problems, and we just looked to overcome that problem, and we basically found a way to import products from the US into South Africa in a nice and easy way. And through that process, ended up starting a business called Want It All, which is an online retail business specializing in products from the US that aren't available in South Africa. And we started that business, I could guess, by accident. And we brought some products for ourselves, and then the people around us at the office saw them and said that they also want some products from abroad.
Okay.
And so we brought them in for them. And then we realized, shit, there's an opportunity here. And so we got someone to build us a website, because back in the day, 2005, 2006, the web was big, but there weren't that many web developers that we knew. Yeah. We were more back-end developers. And so we got a friend of ours to build a website. Kevin Cadman was the guy, and he built us our site, and we ended up just putting some products that we thought were relevant from the US and showing them to South African customers.
Yeah. We
then launched the business through social media. Because
cool.
in 2006, the biggest social media platform,
MySpace.
we went MySpace and Mixit. No, we went. No, I joke about social media. We actually went to forums. Okay. So we trawled the gaming forums, particularly the My Broadband forums, and told people about our website and ended up getting business.
Amazing.
And then post that, we realized that December was coming, and so I used to get up at like 5 in the morning, get to office by 6, leave by 4, go past DHL, fetch all our boxes.
Oh,
pack boxes together with our domestic worker Rosie until 11, together with myself, Rosie and Terence. The three of us used to pack boxes till 11 at night.
Wow.
Terence used to drop Rosie off in Alex, get back home, start the cycle again every day.
And you're still a 5 a.m. riser.
Yeah, and I still wake up at 5, but thanks to that, and kids. But we did that for about 8 months, and then we realized that Christmas was coming and that wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
And so we all took a view to quit our jobs in the online sports betting space, and all just before we got our bonuses. But we said that we have to do this to make the business work, and we went and got a little office in Bryanston, and we set up operations, and off we went.
Amazing.
We took Rosie, our domestic worker, got her involved.
That's great. Is she still involved?
She's still involved. She runs the receiving section of the warehouse.
Amazing.
Empowerment, girls, women, yeah.
Wearing the t-shirt.
There you go. So we do a lot of that. And then we basically started the business. And then post that, we've done a few other things. We invested in a business called City Mob, which morphed into a business called Superblis.com, which is sold to Takealot.
Yeah.
And I guess in that process, we identified that one of the key challenges from an e-commerce perspective wasn't the selection of products It wasn't acquiring customers. It wasn't technology. It wasn't payments. Well, it was really the fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so we found that these businesses could build to a relative sense of scale, but once they hit a certain number of orders per day, the founders or the people running the businesses weren't well versed in supply chain and logistics. They understood the marketing side of it and product selection, so they knew how to, let's call it, surprise and delight clients.
Yeah.
But what they didn't know was how to take it to scale. And we went to the City Mob guys and we said, listen, you guys are great at finding products or sourcing products and selling. We're great at logistics.
Yeah.
You handle product, we handle logistics, and let's go.
Yeah.
And when we took that sort of drama off their plate, the business probably grew 4 times the size, and that's what led to us ultimately exiting to the Take-A-Lot guys.
Okay.
And in that process there, we identified that if this is a need for the guys at Superbalist, there's probably a need for everyone, or a broader need. And so we set up a business called Parcelninja, which basically handles all the sort of fulfillment and distribution for e-commerce players.
Okay, wow.
And that's how we ended up. So none of it was planned.
Yeah, like
none of it was well thought out. There was no business plan or any of those sort of things.
Yeah.
We just went and did it.
You stuck in e-commerce though. Is it a passion now, or is it again just something you fell into?
I think, like, I wouldn't say serendipitous, but I guess if I think about it, it was just something that ended up happening.
Yeah.
I guess the principles of retail are fairly simple. I mean, buy low, sell high, the same as almost every like business.
Yeah.
But it was always something that we just had a bit of a knack for. And what was interesting is that when you put a lot of IT guys together, they're inherently quite lazy, which is quite nice. Because lazy people build systems to automate, which then gives you scale.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Which is quite interesting. So what we've done there is we've automated a hell of a lot of processes in the business. It's heavily systems driven. And so while we might have got into retail by accident, I think it's now sort of supply chain is partly our passion together with the element of retail.
Yeah.
But I think that we like finding gaps and filling needs and taking on challenging problems.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the key things. I think if you've got a bunch of clever people, don't do simple things.
Yeah.
Because you're wasting brain power.
And you'll get bored.
And you get bored and people leave. So rather do hell of a difficult, hell of a challenging things that really push the envelope, sort of bring about change and help others. And we think that we're trying to get that right in our Parcelninja business.
Okay. And so is logistics, do you think that's a particular challenge for the South African market versus, I guess, more developed countries?
Developed countries have similar solutions to what we offer here. Which just talks to the sort of evolution of where logistics is going. Because like I tell people, I said, well, the great part about being in South Africa is we have a crystal ball. Yeah. It's called the US. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And most of the times those things are going to come here. It's just a matter of when. So with the Parcelninja business, what we did is we took like a bit of a step back and we said, well, how are businesses looking to invest lots of money into sort of capex heavy sort of, let's call it products or initiatives? And we said that, well, nowadays you don't go buy your own service.
Yeah.
You're in AWS or you're in one of those sort of cloud platforms.
Yeah.
You don't buy your email service. You use Gmail or you use Office 365 or one of those.
Yeah.
So where's this warehouse in the cloud?
Yeah.
Which is obviously the next sort of, the physicality needs to be moved into a single place. And I mean, in the cloud obviously just means that it's done by someone else in one place.
Yeah.
And we said, well, and it came from a sort of meeting with some of the AWS guys in Europe, and they said, "Do you think that you can build servers better than we can build servers and look after systems and better than us?" And
Challenge accepted.
And we're like, "Well, no, actually, we know we can't from an AWS perspective, and they're ISO this compliant and ISO that compliant, and they've got every sort of certificate." So we said that's a good point. So we'll outsource our service to AWS, which is great because and put all our stuff in the cloud.
Yeah.
But who's going to do that for the warehouse? In other words, and you go look at most of the warehouses and the logistics players in South Africa or small, medium-sized companies, and they're not even compliant legally with what you're meant to be doing. Never mind all the other stuff. So when you go in there and you go, oh, you haven't got a sprinkler system. Where's your rational fire design? Where's your people that are trained in CPR?
Go drop them in the shit live on Facebook, Justin. No names, hypothetical.
No. I'm saying it's interesting. So the retailers, so small, because small companies don't, it's not because they don't want to do it. It's that they're ignorant to it.
Yeah.
And being unconsciously incompetent is why you start.
Yeah.
That's what an entrepreneur is. If I took a step back and looked at all the things we've done, we wouldn't have started.
Yeah.
Because of all the challenges. And so you have to be blissfully unaware of a lot of these things to go down that road. And you have to uncover them one at a time so you can fix them gradually. But just to the warehouse space, so we said, well, let's build a warehouse that's compliant legally, that has best practice internationally, that can solve the problems for the small to medium-sized players because they can never reach a scale of a take-a-lot, which means that they're not going to offer the same levels of service, which means they won't get to scale. Yeah. So let's try bring like world-class logistics to the masses to a certain degree, masses being retailers.
Yeah.
And how can we offer that to all of these small guys in a way that's easy to pay for, simple, and let's call it pay-as-you-go model, in the same way you do in the cloud or pay for your cell phone contract.
Yeah.
And we came up with a model from a warehouse perspective that basically you pay for the space you use, you pay for items picked, and you pay the courier fee. And what we do is we go get economies of scale. So we take all these small guys, we put them all together, and we go get a great rate with the courier.
Perfect.
We optimize internally in the warehouse. We have fancy picking systems. We make sure that we have a warehouse that's big enough to give us economies of scale from space perspective. And then we pass that savings onto the small guys, and we give them a proper solution, which is great.
So you're helping little guys. You're their cloud, essentially.
So we're the cloud. Yeah. So if you wanted to go launch an e-commerce site today, you'd go get Shopify or Magento or WooCommerce. You set it up. Use the standard payment gateway. Pick one of the 10. You'd leave your product in my warehouse. It would be integrated with your e-commerce site, and all you'd have to do is worry about marketing. Finished.
Amazing.
All you have to worry about, you only have to worry about product market fit. And I'm being dead serious. And we've seen clients that have launched their warehouse in a matter of days.
Amazing.
Like
you make
3
it
days.
so easy.
It nowadays is literally that easy. If you've got a product, you could be online selling in days. Multi-channel, all that. You could be on bid or buy. You should be on price check. You should be on the Take-A-Lot marketplace. You should have your own site. All of that run hell of it easily through one platform.
Can you hear that, Tariq? My marketing assistant's starting a cap selling business. I'm still
Very
coaxing her
easy.
in front of the camera. Maybe today was not the day.
But yeah, it's actually relatively easy. A lot of the problems have been solved. And so gone are the days from 2006. 4 years ago, you probably couldn't set up an e-commerce site that quickly. The platforms just didn't exist either.
So this sounds great and it does sound very simple, but what are the biggest challenges for people starting e-commerce platforms in South Africa, I guess, versus the rest of the world, or more generally?
Well, I think what we find is the challenges are not really let's call them micro challenges, or challenges that they can overcome easily. The broader challenges we find are like macroeconomic issues around disposable income for individuals. I think is one of the key challenges that the e-commerce players have to deal with. And then I guess the other part is just finding the right product market fit. I think is a difficult part. And the last part is probably and when I talk to product market fit, I think most people don't understand how shipping plays delivery plays a big part in customers' decisions. Yeah. So let's give an example. I decide I want to sell hats online. Each hat is 99 Rand. Yeah. However, I must remember that I need to now ship this hat to a person, and probably the average delivery charge might be around 45 Rand, which means that almost 50% of the value of the product is in the shipping. Yeah. So now you actually have to work out how. So firstly, the question is that product the right product for online? Yeah. That's really the question. And if it is the right product for online, how do you maybe adjust it? And let's just take the hat example. Would be instead of selling one hat, you might sell a pack of 3. Yeah. And instead of selling them for 300 Rand for a pack of 3, you sell it for 250. Yeah. So in other words, how does your basket size versus shipping calculation sort of affect sales? And we found that is probably the biggest challenge for retailers. And in other words, if you're going to try to sell a product that is exceptionally cheap, just remember that the shipping is going to be added to it, so it doesn't always make sense. And we think that that's one of the big issues. So the people think it's easy to bring these things online. It's just they choose the wrong product. In our one-to-all business, what we've learned is that we play in a high margin, difficult to find sort of product range. And in online, it's all about the niche. Yeah. That's really where the opportunity is. In other words, if you're looking for a particular cap from a particular manufacturer or something, and you happen to bring them in, and you are the only retailer in that's where you want to be. Yeah. You've got Supreme or, I don't know, one of these hat brands, and that's what you're selling well. That's the opportunity. Cool. Not your generic, what everyone else is. Me Too business online is not going to work in South Africa.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. And back to what you were saying, I think a lot of people that get into e-commerce are the creator types. So they've created this product that they love, and it's a very emotional decision to then take it online and offer it at a price rather than taking the more analytical decision of, as you were saying, figuring out all the margins, figuring out the shipping, and then before you know it, you've got like aging stock that you can't sell anymore and huge costs and refunds. And
fashion retail is an incredibly difficult business.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in that before. In fashion retail, you've got to know that.
You were in fashion retail.
Well, I mean, with the Superbulous business, that's what fashion retail. And you've got to say that I might not look fashionable. We had very little part to play in that business. I'll tell you, the guys that run that business, they know what they're doing, not us. But what's interesting about it is that if you go in fashion retail and you're selling garments, you're going to 35% are probably going to come back, returns. How do you manage that process?
Yeah, exactly.
And you go through all of that. So it's some things that you, as I said, like if you know about it up front, you can plan for it. And other things you just got to dive in head first and see how it goes. But and also I think that the big challenge is actually around the customer acquisition.
Okay.
But I think that through social media and a few other things, there's decent opportunities there.
Definitely. But back to the problem you were just talking about, which is refunds and 35%, which...
or returns, not necessarily refunded, but returns.
Okay, returns. What should you do with all of that returned stock? Or what do you see some of the better players doing?
Well, what's interesting is, so if you look abroad, depending on what category you're in, so let's just take electronics. So what's interesting abroad is the distribution center is not the return center.
Okay.
Two different businesses. So in electronics, I think returns are tricky because you need to grade them, you need to check them, you need to make sure that they're resellable, you maybe need to refurbish them. There's a huge process behind that.
Okay.
We don't do a lot of that sort of stuff. But around the garment side of things, it's relatively easy because the person says, listen, I was a size 34, but in this particular brand, I'm a 32 or 36.
Yeah.
So they return the 34, we send them a 36, and off they go. Now, we've got to get the item back, fold it, bag it, tag it, steam it, get it ready, put it back, inspect, make sure it's ready for resale, put it back into the warehouse, and make sure that we can ship it out.
Okay.
And so you have to be able to have that sort of reusability. And if you don't get your returns process right, I think it's a major challenge for fashion retail.
Yeah.
And the guys that are doing, I think, the Zando, the Sprees, and the Superblitz have got that right. They identify that's a critical component to their business. To the extent that if I want to buy clothing online, I'll buy 2 or 3 sizes of the same garment.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, exactly.
I buy a pair of Adidas shorts. I go, well, I'm going to take a medium and a large, and I'll buy 2 of each.
Yeah.
And I'll try them on, and I'll just put the rest back and say, okay, take it away.
If you're like me, though, you never return it. I have a shelf full of wrong size clothing at home.
But it's so easy to actually return. But if you go into it with the intent of buying multiple sizes to use your house as a fitting room, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
I think fashion retail online is the best way to shop fashion. It's the easiest. I mean, I don't have to go to a store. I just buy the sizes, try them all on, send back what I don't want. It's like having a personal shopper, a fitting room in your house. And it's all on Apro. It's like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
that's how I shop.
Yeah, that's also how I shop. I'm probably not very representative of the female window shopping population there, but in online.
But I think that once you try that
Yeah.
and start getting it going, I think it's the offering is quite compelling.
Particularly if you forget what you've ordered, then it's like a gift being delivered.
Even better. Like, oh, check what I got myself.
Exactly. Okay, cool. But I mean, coming back to Parcelninja, I know the co-founder is your brother, who you were mentioning before.
And Terence, yes.
And Terence, okay. And so, or your brother's name is Terence.
My brother's name is Ryan.
Ryan.
And Terence is a
Okay,
third.
so there's 3 of you. And so how do you manage working with your brother every day?
I think it's our working relationship is particularly good.
Okay.
So even amongst the 3 of us, actually, which is quite, I'm not going to say unique, but I guess it's developed over time.
Yeah.
Remembering that we've known, like Terence is the third co-founder we've known for 25 years odd, let's say.
Okay.
So there's like a deep understanding amongst the people, and we've got quite well-defined roles in the business, which is also, so Ryan will look after RT, Terence will look after supply chain logistics, and I'll just look after whatever else is left. Which is the most difficult thing, because you got to go and work out what to do every day. Yeah. It's not where you sit down on your computer and you go, okay, let's just do what people tell me to do.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
it's you got to. But I guess all 3 of us have to do that. But working with your friends and family, we find is quite rewarding, and we haven't really had a challenging process through that. In other words, what's great about it is that you can trust the person implicitly, that we have, so that works hell of a well. You know what their strengths are, so you can play to them. And if you have the sort of EQ to leverage the good, you can unlock a hell of a lot of value in that process. Yeah. And it does help that the 2 guys are like incredibly bright and talented, so that also does help. And I will say that without those 2 co-founders, I definitely don't think we'd be where we are now in the business. Yeah. There's no question. I mean, my brother is exceptionally talented in from a programming perspective. And I think that when you talk about startups, like if you don't have a technical co-founder, I think you're in a very difficult space.
Okay.
We just happen to have a hell of a strong technical co-founder, which is great. And Terence brings a practicality to the business that is also quite unique. So how to do things, new ideas around supply chain, and I think that's also quite important.
Yeah.
Remembering that he doesn't come from supply chain.
Yeah.
I don't come from logistics and e-commerce. It's just things that we end up doing and
So
become good at.
let's start a logistics.
Let's start a logistics business. Why
Perfect.
not? Yeah, exactly. Mistake.
Yeah. Do you find it hard to, this is more a question for me, but do you find it hard to switch off if you're working with, say, like your brother or your partner, if you then go out to dinner and you've been talking about your business all day? How do you kind of have that mental switch over to...
I don't know if you, I watched a thing with Jeff Bezos, I think, and he doesn't like to call it like work-life balance. I don't think it is like a work-life balance. There's a bit of flow to it, if you could call it that. And I think that your like work is part of your life.
Yeah.
And I think that in those conversations there'll be some work, some not work, some common things that you do. So I think it's a lot about what other sort of. Are you somebody that has? I think everybody's multifaceted, but like, do you have other interests to discuss? Like, are you maybe playing games, or are you going sport, or the other sort of aspects that you discuss? Otherwise, you don't only want that sort of business to be that only thread. But also outside of work is when you come up with your more creative ideas. To be honest, like, the best ideas are not normally done at work. And like I said to some of our staff, I said, like, when you're at work, you can do your job. That's cool, and you'll get it right. If you want to be better at your job, well, you've got to do that after hours. Yeah. Because you're not going to have time to do that otherwise. And I know that everybody talks about like blocking off 2 hours every day to think by yourself, and I think that's important. Yeah. But it practically doesn't always work. And I think that the people that we see that like evolve and become a hell of a good subject matter experts or great competency in particular business areas are the people that have a passion for it and spend time at home doing it. Yeah. Great programmers aren't guys that when they go home they don't program. Great programmers are guys that when they get home they switch on their computer and they want to do some more. Exactly. And they want to solve some problem or learn something new. So like being inquisitive, I think, is very important, and wanting to educate yourself. And so I watch and read a hell of a lot every single day, and that's not because I have to, it's because I have a natural tendency towards that, which then just lends itself to being knowledgeable in like various subject areas, which may or may not help the business. Yeah. But it's not just about business. So I'm saying like the guys that are doing computer programming, like if I take like my brother for example, he'll go and he'll write that little thing that'll automatically open his garage door when it reads his number plate. Amazing. That's not a business, but he wanted to learn about these particular things because they're interesting, and so it helps in the process of discovery and it helps his life. And it helps his life. So, but what I'm saying is it's like knowing a lot about a lot of things is useful. I'll say that, and the guys that we find do the work after hours are the guys that are really good. No, I agree. And actually, I was reading something on the weekend. Your wife put this in my head, and it's been playing on me for the last 5 days. Which is like, there's going to be no separation between personal brand and business brand in the future, because, and particularly you're talking about social media, obviously being like for e-commerce players such a good way to acquire customers, and through that it's becoming more and more about like authenticity and telling your story. So, I mean, is that something you see with the guys you're working with through Parcelninja? I guess the cream of the crop of the e-commerce players in South Africa, is that something they're shifting towards, or are they managing to stay more transactional? It's an interesting one. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not sure yet. I guess just coming back to your personal brand versus the business brand, I think there's definitely a blurring of lines in that space, particularly if you're an entrepreneur. Yeah. Because a lot of who you are and your self-worth and your sort of persona is embedded into that business. Not because you necessarily want to, just because you spend all your time doing it. It's a labor of love to a degree. It's blood, sweat and tears. It's who you are, what you are. And that's why I think the people that, and this is a South African challenge, is that, well, a few other countries as well, is that failure isn't really celebrated, if we could say that. Yeah. And so when businesses go under, or they have a hard time, or they fail, that people go into depression. In the US, it's San Francisco, it's like, okay, well, we failed, next, let's try another one. Yeah. And so I think that we need to have like a bit of a mindset shift around that failure. In other words, like we had a chat to some of the VCs in San Francisco, and they go, "Oh, this guy's failed twice. Yeah, probably now he's going to get it right." In other words, you have to have a few failures to get success. Do you think that you're going to be successful in your very first attempt? Yeah. Really?
Unlikely, exactly.
Highly unlikely. So what makes what makes you so much special than everybody else? Because no one else gets it. Seems to get it right. So that's one of the things. I think that come back to personal sort of business brand. I think that the two are inextricably linked.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is as a business owner.
No, that makes sense. Okay, so talking about failure, what would you say is your biggest fuck up in business?
What up?
Beef up.
You have to be more. There's been many. I think it's. But I think it's not about like what is your biggest failure. I think it's like how do you take that failure and do something with it. I guess is part of it.
Yeah.
And if you take like every failure as an opportunity, and like it sounds like so passe, but it's true. And I give an example being, I think like 2007 when we were running our Wanted All business, which imports products from overseas. So it's all dollar based. The rand went from let's say R6.50 to 12 rand. We thought, oh my goodness, all our prices have doubled.
Yeah.
That's the end of our business.
Yeah.
And our business sales dropped by let's say 20 or 30%, which made us not profitable, which is not the end of the world. And then we realized, if the prices double and we lose 20 to 30% of our revenue, should our price maybe be higher?
Yeah.
And so when the rand came back to the normal price, we just left the prices high.
Great.
And then we realized that what we were doing was let's call it leaving money on the table. In other words, we were underpricing. We didn't understand our business well enough, and we didn't understand our value proposition.
Okay.
We thought that we must be competitively priced and undercut people and bring in products cheaply. That's not what the business is about. The business was actually about bringing in products that you can't find in South Africa, that aren't available, and then making that import process seamless, easy, so that we just bring in things for you that you couldn't find. And by charging a higher margin to do that, and targeting the right individuals, the business actually became super profitable because of that. And so when you just thought we were going under and it's drama, well, it actually turned into a nice opportunity. So I think that's something that was quite cool. And I think there's like lots of like things that we've done wrong. We've lost money with couriers, hundreds of thousands a month by accident. We've lost money to fraud all the time. We've had to move warehouses, which is a disaster. We've had servers go down and not come back up before. We've had there's been many catastrophic events in the history of our whole business, and it's just to say that we're still here going through it, and it's not about like I guess how well you do, it's about how like you pick yourself up and just fucking keep going.
Exactly, you're still here to tell the tale.
We're still here, barely, but we're still here. It's not fun. Business is not necessarily fun all the time. Like I say that, and like when we started our Parcelninja business, like I said to my wife, I said, fuck, I actually forgot how hard it is to start a business. It's actually bloody difficult, eh?
Yeah, it is.
It's really tough, and that's knowing everything that we know, with the experience that we know, with a solid team. And that's why I say, anybody that wants to go into logistics, come have a look at what we do. It's not simple.
It's like having a baby. You forget how painful it was the first time. You just ride the hormones.
You just keep going, exactly. But
I imagine.
But I think it's a very similar thing. It's like I say to people, like when you just write down how bad this was, and then come back to it like a bit of time and see. But then you'll see my one friend says, I think it's called the 10-10-10 thing. Like how much of a problem is this going to be in 10 days?
Yeah.
10 months. Or 10 years.
I like that. That's very cool.
And if it's not a 10-10-10 problem, well then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to worry about this in 10 years? Nah. Oh, then who gives a shit?
And he's the most chill dude.
Yeah, and he's chilled. Exactly. But I think that allows you to maybe just step back and get a bit of perspective. Like in 10 years, was this really the biggest fuck up in the world?
No, that's cool.
Yeah. How bad was it?
Definitely.
So there we go. So that's something that maybe we need to use. But I will say that in our business we still hustle every day.
Yeah.
Every day you start at like they might say every day is day zero, but I really feel like every day is day zero for us. And in retail, every day is every month. On the first of the month, you start on naught again, and you gotta go. And it's not one of these nice monthly recurring revenue businesses. It start from zero every month,
sell every day,
and so it's just something to learn, which we've learned in our Wanted All business. You start on zero. In our Parcelninja business, it's a recurring revenue. And we've learned the amount of capex that you need to invest in order to get that recurring revenue versus the other businesses are so radically different.
A lot more.
I think we lost like 800,000 in a month in our Parcelninja business.
Good.
just while we getting things going.
Yeah.
Because you got to start with scale in mind, and so you have to build the systems, the processes, the people, the warehouse, the investment that's required is so massive.
Definitely.
And then you sit with a nice big empty warehouse and you're waiting for them to come. And if you build it, they won't come.
No.
You got to go fetch them. And I think that's part of the story. So you don't understand the capex requirements, and that's something that was new for us in this process.
Yeah. And so what if they're, like, a lot of our watchers are early stage entrepreneurs, I guess, hustling in their living rooms, trying to get started for the first time. And so and I think there's this perception that you need to have a lot of funding to start a business. What is your response to that? Do you need to, or how can you bootstrap to start with? You can't afford the big warehouse.
Well, I think it depends what kind of business you're looking to start.
Okay.
So our Wanted All business was quite unique because we had no product. So we didn't need a big capex outlay. We started the business with 10,000 Rand. Finished.
Awesome.
Yeah, so they started with 10,000 Rand, which was just, I'm not even sure what we used it for. I think we just put in an account and said, let's start with 10 grand. But we really didn't need them. I think it was maybe to buy boxes and some other stuff actually. But we didn't need to buy products, so it was quite unique. And I think it was spent on marketing. But I think that you, depending on what business you're looking to do, it lends itself to not needing a lot of money, or maybe, in other words, if you want to start a Parcelninja business, well, then you need a lot of money. You need to put fancy systems that don't exist. You need to buy warehouses. You need to put infrastructure in. One story. If you want to sell hats, it's like a hat business. I think you could, with a fairly small amount of money, you can go buy some inventory or some stock.
Yeah.
You can go set up your Shopify website. You can go get all of the integration done. That's easy. You can go get a courier account somewhere. Very easy to do. And you can start selling the hats, and you can take out a few Facebook ads, sell a few friends, and just start like hustling on the forums, the groups, all of those things, and just start the process to see if you've got something there. And if you start selling, well, then you get more and more, and you build it up from there. But you don't need to go and say, I need R1,000,000 because I need about 20 different hat sizes, I've got 50 different SKUs, and I need a whole R1,000,000 of the stock, and I need to build a website, and it needs to be designed by X, Y, Z. It's like, you can just build, people don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Putting something out there 80% done, and having it out today is better than 100% done in 6 months' time.
Definitely.
And that's our view. So we also, and we don't like to build systems when you start. So it's important to understand a process first. Like, don't go build the return system. Just try get that done on a piece of paper and learn a few times and go, we can improve this. Then maybe build the system. So people are very quick to go build systems without understanding processes. And so we just say, chill. And we're happy to do things manually while we work stuff out. Definitely. And I think that's the important part. But what's important to us is just dipping your toe in all the time to see what is or what isn't working. It's very cheap to do. And you don't need a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, like you were saying, start with scale in mind, which obviously you need to do if you want to scale, but also...
But not all the businesses are built for scale.
No.
If you're a niche hat retailer, you're not going to sell a million hats.
You're crushing her dreams right now.
It's just about being realistic. There's nothing wrong with having a niche hat business that makes margin and makes money.
Yeah.
Because you can have a hat business, you can have a ring business, you can have a dress business,
exactly.
And you can use the same infrastructure, skills, processes to launch different products to the same consumers.
Definitely.
And so I'm saying you don't need to be this all singing, all dancing. You can't be a take-a-lot.
Yeah.
So don't try be a take-a-lot. I think that's also, you got to like understand who you are and what you're up against, and not rush head first into the sort of the train that's coming this way.
Yeah.
Like
and do what's right for you.
You can be a bit elegant about it. Do you know what I mean? And then there's like, also someone says to me, like, there's two different types of entrepreneurs. There's like the karate entrepreneur and the street fighter entrepreneur.
Okay.
Which is interesting. And the karate entrepreneur is the guy that goes to all the schools, all the lessons, learns grades, goes up the belts, learns what he's doing, is able to implement the correct way. Yeah. And there's a street fighter guy who just fucking make it work.
Yeah.
It's like, break a bottle, let's go. And I think
and
I think that's how we start. You know, we don't do a business plan, we don't do use cases, we don't do product market fit, we don't come up with a whole funding methodology, we don't have discounted cash flow. We just break a bottle, let's go.
Yeah.
And I think that will get you further than sitting and farting around all day.
You're speaking my language. One of my biggest pet peeves are those business coaches that sell 50-page business plans or 100-page business plans to entrepreneurs, and they put all of their money into that, and then they need to rip it up the second it gets to market. So
and then you don't have any money to actually, and you don't have any feel like
you don't have a plan. Exactly.
You don't have a plan. And also, like, people go, Justin, where are you going to be in 5 years? I go, fuck 5 years. I don't know. Like, let's just try and make it to this year, please.
Yeah, but no, having said that though, you're an investor as well as an entrepreneur. So what do you look for, that solid business plan and the forecasting, like a long-term plan? Or
I think it depends what the people are asking for.
Yeah.
So if the guys are running around saying, listen, so I saw a business the other day, they go, we got like a $10 million valuation and we're looking to raise $2 million and we're doing $50,000 a month in revenue. And we're okay, cool. So now if you guys are just going to round up, you're valuing a business at 100 million rand and you're doing 500,000 rand a month in GMV, let's call it, which means you make no profit basically.
Yeah.
Take me through this elaborate business plan of yours together with your model to prove that you think you're worth this much.
Yeah.
And I think that's the challenge. When you're asking for a lot of money, you're going to be under a lot more scrutiny than angel investors who are going to be writing much smaller check sizes. So to go get 250,000 rand from some angel investors is relatively simple compared to going to go get 10 million rand. If I could say that. And those two things require completely different. And there's for an investment of 10 million rand and 100 million rand business, you go where's board minutes, where's your financials, is it audited, is everything signed off, are you compliant with the legalities? Because people, there's much more risk in it.
Yeah.
And 250,000 rand, the risk is still big, don't get me wrong, but it's not nearly as big.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to get those sort of investments going. And I think that what we look for is we look for the normal, sort of the product, the business, the size, the opportunity. Are they getting traction? And then also is, are the guys good? Do they know what they're doing? And what's really interesting about it is when you sit in front of everyone, they're awesome.
Yeah. And
then you start asking some questions like, you'd be surprised how many like ex-staff members you bump into along life, or you hear stories and you do things. So like I said to you, just being in the space of being knowledgeable, having these sort of interactions, etc. You meet people along the way, and it's always good before you do something just to it's more about the people. So, okay, we're about to invest in you. Like, what has this guy done before?
Yeah.
What's the story? Why have some of the staff left? What do they have to say? And just to get like a real picture of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. And the challenge also is people like hanging out with people that are similar to them.
Yeah.
And so you've got to try find different, I think, some of the times.
Okay.
But we also look for, as I said, it's guys that just have that go-getter attitude.
Okay.
Like in businesses that start up, if the guys if they rock up to meetings late and they're there 10 in the morning and they're leaving at 4, chances are it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And you can say like hard work, yes, work smarter, not harder, but
work both. Work
you've
smarter
got
and harder.
why not do both? Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say. So just because you're not going to get another chance to do it, so you might as well just fucking give it all the first time.
Definitely.
You don't have time to fuck around. Like I said, like if you got to get up at 5 every morning and you got to pack boxes, and that's not exactly what I enjoy doing. It's not glamorous. But you know what? Because I've packed boxes and done all that sort of, I really understand the nitty-gritties of the business.
Yeah.
When they say, the box packing is taking long, like, what do you mean it's taking long? Come, let's see how you pack a box.
Yeah, exactly.
I've packed boxes before. If you need help, I will pack boxes with you.
I think that's good. You always stay in your business and know exactly what all the challenges people are facing.
Yeah, I think it's the juxtaposition of the on the business versus the in the business. But I think that you've got to have done it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important. You have to have seen what's really happening and understand the nitty-gritties.
Definitely.
As it gets bigger. Look, it's difficult to keep that level of control or understanding. But I think it's that's just good to walk the floor, if I can call it that.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I know what's happening. That works.
So I feel like you've shared a lot of advice already. I've definitely taken some things out of it. But do you have any last words for our listeners who are starting businesses or have already started and are kind of looking to scale?
I think the biggest thing that made our business work was like the unwavering commitment to it, the team that we have, and then going to find a network.
Yeah.
So in other words, I had to go. I knew no one in e-commerce. I made it my mission to go find out who these guys are that are in e-commerce and go meet them, just to have some guys to bounce ideas off and learn quicker.
Yeah.
You can try work it out yourself, or you can just ask an expert.
Yeah.
And rather just ask the bloody experts. But you can't be in meetings all day not doing work. And so you got to get that balance right. And we took it after we did meetings and stuff. We for I think it was for 2 years, didn't have one meeting externally. We just focused on the business and getting our stuff right. And I think it's to get that, knowing when to go out and find, and then knowing when to take the knowledge back and actually get some shit done is the two things that we found work well.
Awesome. I think that's very good advice. Learn when to say no also, because you'll be drinking coffees all day.
No, 100%. You'll be doing interviews every day.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you so much for coming. for having me here.
Pleasure.
It was really awesome. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Tune into Power Hour next week.
Bye.